All right, guys, we are back, and we're gonna continue on to some Hearthstone topics. God, still got lots to go. So, Hearthstone, $250,000 World Championship announced by Blizzard last week. I think maybe a day or two after our show. No, it was during Valley Town, so it was on Thursday,
Yeah,
and that's pretty big news. I mean, that's
it's a lot of money.
well, and Blizzard, yeah, Blizzard putting up that much money, I think pretty much puts the stake in the ground that Hearthstone esports is, something that they believe in.
It's the equivalent to the StarCraft 2 prize pool last year
Yeah,
at
which is crazy.
BlizzCon. Yep, and it's crazy.
Yeah. So what do you think about it, Cody?
I've been saying, I mean, Hearthstone makes sense for just a number of reasons. So I'll address the detractors first, right? It's a shitty RNG-based game. It's pay to win. It's a card game. It's all RNG. There's no skill involved. Okay, so those are the initial arguments. But here's the thing. I always knew it was going to be successful from the standpoint for a couple of reasons. Blizzard is making money.
Hand over fist.
Yes, they.
Jeez.
I don't even. This has to be the biggest since World of Warcraft. This has to be like the biggest revenue generator they've had as a game for sure.
Yeah, they projected 300 million this year.
It is easy money for them. This is just a laughable line item for them in the overall scheme of things. Second, I always knew it was going to be a success, even if the game's popularity was sort of upon us by the powers that be.
Sorry, dude.
Once that game hits Android, league organizers and teams have a whole new market to sell to. So
Sponsor-wise.
yeah, MLG will start chasing HTC. This team will start chasing Samsung. I made a joke. I saw into the future. The next huge fight that Adam Pasella from MLG and Alex Garfield of Evil Geniuses has is MLG is sponsored by Samsung, but they want their Hearthstone player to play on his HTC device, and then they just they exchange blows. Because those are the kind of fights they have. And I tweeted some joke about that, and Robert Olin retweeted it. It's like it's going to be a big deal. Like it's just a whole new market. So this does not surprise me at all. I think it surprised a lot of people. The messaging was like a little weird.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it was in the form of just kind of explaining, details like in their forum post more than it was like an official press release type of thing. But
Yeah, it's
the
the
Hearthstone
third
team,
sense
they don't
in
do press releases for the most part. It's more just like a forum post to the community. This does fall under the news section of their site, but nothing that we're used to in esports. But this is, huge. And for those of you that aren't familiar with exactly how this is going to work, basically BlizzCon, they're going to have one final tournament at BlizzCon, and the way you qualify for it is there's a couple ways. You can finish top 16 in the ladder. Last month, this month, all the way up until August, I believe. If you finish top 16, then you qualify for this World Championships tournament, qualifying tournament. And then I think some community events will actually have spots too that you can win
Yes.
and qualify for.
Yep.
And each region has their own ladder. So there's three regions, and 16 from each every month. Each season is a month. And so there'll be, like, I don't know, roughly a few hundred people in this qualifying tournament at the end. And then the top 16, I believe, go to BlizzCon. Yeah. The top 16
Yeah.
go to BlizzCon, I believe. And then you can kind of see the prize breakdown there. But, last BlizzCon, there wasn't even a prize, right? It was just
Yeah, it was
purely
all for
an
free.
8-man invitational type of thing. Game wasn't launched. No, it wasn't. I don't really expect there to be any kind of like event like this, but this is huge. I mean, 250,000, huge money.
Gotta say, because I thought it was funny. From my impression, it's not region locked, so Europeans can compete in the.
No, it is region locked.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah, you have to
'cause
be
they addressed-
Well, you have to be residing in the country.
Well, no. For the whatever it is, the wild card tournament, the last one, the third
The
one.
last call, yeah. The
Yeah,
last
yeah.
call.
You have to be part of X number of countries, but you don't have to be for the first two, right? So if an Asian player goes to DreamHack and wins, it's possible that he might get a spot. Is what I've gathered.
Yeah, I think that's
it
true.
wasn't set in stone, and this makes it very interesting because a lot of players just will get like top 10 in their respective region and just go and compete on the other server. for fun, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, not even fun, just you don't want to sacrifice that top 10 spot.
Yeah, and it's been really cool. I mean, the ladder, it's a really great policy. It might have even been cool to do it in well, I guess they are doing it to some extent, right? With StarCraft, we've seen at least some ladder the tournaments with the ladder, but WCS doesn't do ladder right now, do it? Does it? I forget.
They have
Does WCS have a ladder thing? I
The
forget.
ladder wild card qualifier?
Yes,
Is that
exactly.
Yeah,
what
that's
we
what it
say?
is. Okay, there is a wild card for the ladder in WCS. So, they're doing the same similar thing in Hearthstone, but the difference is it's each month, right? So the end of the season only lasts each month. So the last week is just crazy.
Yeah, everyone goes nuts.
Yeah, I mean you have to play like a ton every single day. Like you can't squat on anything, because it's not really a zero base type of ladder system. It's like it continually goes up, so you can't just squat on a spot.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I think StarCraft is kind of like that too in a way. So
It's much easier to
crazy
find games
competitive.
at the absolute highest level. That was one of the problems with StarCraft, is like when your MMR eventually in StarCraft got so high, it was so difficult to find other people queuing. But at Hearthstone, it's not. One of the things that Hearthstone Ladder has going for it too is like once you're sort of rank like 3 or so and above, you play. You can get like and I would say rank 3 in Hearthstone is the equivalent of like mid masters onward. It's not unusual to play like legendary players in the double digits, which would be the equivalent of maybe
Not
the
so much in rank 3. Rank 2 and 1, you'll run into lower
oh,
legend
shucks,
players
rank 2
for
and
sure.
1. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said rank 3.
Well,
But
I
yeah,
mean, it's a big difference. Man. Rank 3, you're playing like rank 5 guys and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, I've seen like, you know, okay, ChanManV. The point persists though. There are a lot more legendary players than there were at the very beginning of the year though. Which is crazy. Like in Americas, it can get to like the fucking 800s and shit, which is sort of nuts.
I mean, legends. There's like thousands of players, like a couple thousands maybe in legend right now. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people playing Hearthstone right now. So, yeah, I think last season I remember seeing like a 2,000 being one of the numbers at the very, very bottom. So at least 2,000 were there, and it's probably the same thing this season. But the biggest thing is that it gets crazy, and the top players, a lot of the top players end up slipping through, below the 16 just because they didn't play enough games.
It's like
And
absolutely agonizing being on the.
the
Like if you're
of
on the
it.
cusp, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because you have to keep playing, but every loss just like sets you further and further back. I think that's really
Yeah.
awesome. I think that's like a very interesting narrative.
Yeah.
We saw last year there was a player who had fuck, what is his name? He's the European poker player. He had two. He had
You're-
actually 2 accounts in the top.
Oh, hyped? No, hyped.
yes,
hyped,
yes.
hyped was yeah. Hyped had 2 in the top 5.
So I presume they pushed that back to like rank 17, but it's just awesome. And it's certainly, these names are it reminds me of the very beginning of StarCraft, because like you sort of have these, at the early seasons, you had all the beta players who were like doing really fantastic,
Yeah.
and then there's sort of who's becoming the best of the best is really making itself apparent.
Yeah, and just like StarCraft, the best, the most popular people aren't necessarily the best people too. So, like the last 16, we didn't see like 10 people that we recognize. There were probably like most of the people that are in there. I think most of the community didn't even know who they were. So it's really great to get these players that are ladder warriors a chance to really stand out, and now just to make a lot of money, and that's sort of it.
Yeah, I wrote an article last week that one of the things that I really noticed, and I want to give a huge shout out to Team Liquid's Monk, who I think did all the legwork on this, and I noticed what was interesting from his stat collection, but in last season, of the top 25 players, 15 of them were playing Miracle Rogue, and the nearest class, not even the nearest deck, but the nearest class was Hunter with 5. And that's sort of a trend that we're still seeing. A lot of people are still playing Miracle Rogue.
Yeah, in fact, I can even tell you that Tides, who won my tournament like last weekend, he was messaging me the other day asking me, to help him out with making these deck tech videos that they make, these kind of these tutorial type of videos.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to use his account because he doesn't want to play anything but Miracle Rogue on his account, because that's the deck to play to really stay at the very, very top. So he needed some help in figuring out how to play on, do these videos on a different account, that sort of thing. So yeah, they're all playing the same account, the same type of deck right now, at the very top. It's kind of funny.
We were talking about someone just brought it up in chat. It's worth mentioning though, because we were talking about like Baby Knight going from StarCraft 2 to Dota.
Yeah, yeah.
Tides of Time actually used to be a professional Dota 2 player. He was on Dignitas and Bottom Bottom maybe a year and a half ago. So you're definitely seeing like people who played other video games.
Oh,
take
ton of
skill,
people. I
just
mean, look at
transfer.
Masan, StarCraft 2. I mean, he just got signed by TSM for as a Hearthstone player.
Yeah.
So he's the first TSM player now, and I mean some other. I think World of Warcraft. There are a lot of World of Warcraft players.
V was a very popular streamer
Yeah.
for a long time. Rekful is a very popular player.
Kungen is
Yeah.
a big WoW player. So a lot of folks from other esports ending up in Hearthstone right now. But speaking of just, I guess, how hot Hearthstone is right now, so Reynad, who's a really, really popular streamer, one of the top streamers, ended up doing an arena tournament, a Lord of the Arena, which was just like more of a funsy tournament than anything else. It was just like a tournament to really help launch his TempoStorm.com, his team website that he started. And it was like a 6-man invitation. It was the top streamers in Hearthstone all together doing an arena tournament, which was the first of its kind. And Crip was casting with Frodan. Anyways, it got up to 69,000 concurrents, and it was like a 2.5 hour event or something like that, 3 hour
Yeah.
event. So
That's a
it's
lot
pretty
of-
crazy. Yeah.
That is a lot of people for an event hosted exclusively online. I heard it wasn't organized.
Yeah, it was
extremely well
pre-recorded
either.
too. It was pre-recorded, casted live. So
And yeah, I have no reason to think it'll slow down. Again, it's very easy for a lot of people, and I think maybe they're justified. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to say that people aren't justified in having feelings like, hey, this is skillless or it's more RNG based than a lot of the other games. But those numbers are fantastic, and like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of businessmen in esports just salivating, waiting for that Android release because things like HTC or Samsung or
well,
whoever
why isn't
else
anybody cutting a deal with Apple right now?
Apple?
Fuck
I don't think
Apple.
Apple will give a fuck. Yeah,
Nobody
I
wants
think-
to work with Apple.
I
Fuck
think
all their
Apple-
restrictions, all their bullshit.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, Android. I don't know when it's going to come out.
They said it was a top priority in like some post earlier in the year.
Well, I mean, the biggest issue is like it's not even on the phones yet. It's still
Yes.
only on the tablets because the
takes
UI
more
has to be
processor.
completely changed. I think the UI needs to completely change for it to actually be playable on a phone. So that's going to take some time, and I think once they get that, it's easy to port to Android, and there are a lot of platforms that actually allow you to port. There's just one code set, and then you port to both. You just build it for both. So it's actually pretty easy to build for both iOS and Android. It's just a matter of them, I think, designing it right now. But I wouldn't be surprised the end of this year. By the end of this year, we'll see it.
yeah,
and-
I think by the end of the year, it's certainly a safe bet for Android.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many of you remember, like Sony Xperia used to be a sponsor for MLG.
Yeah,
So
I remember that.
like I said, I imagine that people, tournament organizers will want to have their tablet sponsor, and you don't even play on a PC. Part of your sales pitch is like, hey, we have this 256-person tournament. Everyone has to play on whatever Android tablet
Yeah.
is, supporting them. So it makes sense. It makes sense. Mobile is big. Mobile is absolutely big. It's been a huge trend in tech forever. So
Well, DreamHack. I mean, Hearthstone's going to be at DreamHack again this summer, and Adebisi's obviously a big part of organizing that, and I know it's going to be played on a tablet. Like all the players are going to be playing on a tablet, so that should be kind of interesting.
Really doesn't like Hearthstone. Holy fuck.
yeah,
Desra?
he keeps saying this.
Desro doesn't. Oh
I
man,
think
come on, Des.
so.
What's up?
I mean, like, what do you mean by fan favorites? I think
That's where I was saying that Desro's argument is that the game is so RNG based that it's going to be impossible for any consistent winners to ever emerge from the crowd.
I don't think that's true.
That's not completely true.
I don't think that's
It
true.
is. It
So-
is more RNG based than some of the other TCGs that we've seen.
There's been a ton of games like down the years, whether it's card games or any competitive game where there's elements of RNG, but
World of Warcraft
ultimately-
had a ton of RNG, and they had the same sort of players. You guys might remember like that 5% Mace stun, and the same. The point is with games like this, like you have to. The absolute best players will play to limit the effect that RNG has on their games, right? Like it's just all about probability.
No, there's high level play, guys. I mean, for sure. When I see the top players playing, they're making moves that.
The top
You know,
16 will
in the-
look very similar from season to season. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
look at the top 50 every single season, I guarantee you there's going to be at least 30% of the top 50 players every season will look,
Pretty
you
similar.
know,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'd agree with that. And it's kind of like poker, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's going to be hard for
Yeah,
guys to
exactly.
win back-to-back type of titles, but it's going to be more about just over time how much have these people been winning.
I think Desir's making actually a fair point because he keeps insisting about, fan favorite players. I certainly think there was a first
Yeah.
generation of Hearthstone Pro, quote unquote,
Yeah.
that got a lot of attention. That maybe was
All the
unnecessarily.
invitationals. I got all the invites and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
Mark, what are you even trying to say? I'm addressing someone in chat. I don't know what you're trying to say, Desiree. I agree with you. I think the first generation of Hearthstone Pro. I mean, Husky was at the last Blizzard Invitational, which
That's
is the
not
most
even-
absurd,
that doesn't
ridiculous
count.
thing. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I mean,
So
Sean was there too. Sean's not
Yeah.
a pro
I
at all.
think, I think
We're coming around into where competitive Hearthstone will be this kind of fair, open type of tournaments that I think, Mark, you're trying to make a point that we're not seeing. Up to this day, we've been having a lot of invitationals. It's all been about trying to get viewers, right? Trying to really prove that this is worthwhile or not. So a lot of tournaments, whether it's OGN or it's ESL or it's even DreamHack to some extent. Not so much the last DreamHack, but just a lot of events leading up to it. You kind of handpicked who you wanted, and it was strategic that way. But we're starting to see open tournaments now. DreamHack Summer will be, very much. I mean, there's an open bracket side of it. There will be some seeded players, but that happens in a lot of other esports too. So. It's going to get there, Mark. I think it'll get to that kind of fair, I guess, place eventually. But all right, let's move on. Let's talk some Watch Dogs, Steven. Since you've been playing it, you've been playing it for one day, right?
No, I've only played like 3 or 4 hours. I went
really?
to sleep last night and I just woke up today. Yeah.
Oh yeah. How is it? Like a lot of people have been anticipating like getting a chance to play it and everything. So.
It seems pretty cool so far.
Okay. You typically like this type of games, like drivers and stuff, or those type of. That
drivers?
genre.
Is
Not
that...
drivers, but that genre.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I'm not like attached to like a particular genre of game. I don't think I'll play most kinds of games. This one seems pretty cool so far.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people complain about random shit, but I mean, like I've only, like I said, I've only played like 2 or 3 hours so far, so I can't like give like an exhaustive opinion of it. But I mean, so far
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay, cool. I played a little bit of it at PAX, but it's one of those walk up to the booth and play a little bit of it. That didn't get a chance to really get a feel for it. So, let me know how good it is. I might pick it up too if it ends up being pretty good.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. A lot of people in social media, and you guys, you can really trust those guys. Are
Yeah.
they're on the fence about it, and I'm not typically into single player games. The only single player games I really play are Grand Theft Autos, and those come out once every 5 years.
Yeah.
I spent $200 on the last Grand Theft Auto. Man, it was fucked. It was horrible. I didn't have the Xbox hard drive, so then I used like 3 portable hard drives. I like reformatted them to Xbox, and I lost like some really important media on them. But then it turned out my fucking disc was scratched, so I had to buy a whole new copy of the fucking game. That game was fucking awesome, and if it's not as good as that, I don't want to fucking play it.
Oh wow. Okay. Actually, somebody just messaged me. They just said the PC port for Watch Dogs is really poor.
That's what everyone.
It's poor
says.
optimization.
Yeah,
So I guess the console ones are
I mean,
better.
it's about what I would expect from a PC port, I guess. It's not like dramatically worse. I mean,
Do you have to play it through UPlay?
yeah, that kind of sucks, but
Yeah.
Oh really? Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
that-
fucking annoying.
Well, that's Ubisoft in a nutshell, right there, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. True. All right. Let's take some questions. And all the subs, go ahead and reach out to WRZGG in the chat. If you want to come on, ask us a question, then you can do that. But in the meantime, we'll take some Reddit questions. Let's see. Flight of the Dodo asks, what's going on with EG as a team? For background, they're currently 1-7 in the Acer Team Story Cup. They forfeited a match against Millennium a while back because players didn't turn up, and recently were penalized a map against Mouse Sports. which they went on to lose for not giving their lineup in time. Is this management not doing their job, or are the players bored and just riding out their contracts doing the minimal possible? JD is the only positive player with 4 others without a win. Disappointing since they're all fan favorite players and were at one point the top dog. If they picked up Destiny, could he turn it all around?
Sure.
I think it's the key, man. I imagine Steven and Alex Garfield getting along with one another and their philosophies on professionalism and
Definitely.
media
We've been
very well.
negotiating contracts over the past like 2 weeks. We've been trying to settle on a figure, but I'll have more. Richard will have the story
The
on
new
that.
team manager,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
As a former manager, I'll chime in. EG's always been very hit or miss as a team league, or is like in team leagues. The 2 last IPTLs, while I was there, they were the highest ranking foreign team there was, and we took that very seriously. But it gets very difficult, and from the StarCraft numbers are down, right? There are less players than there were last year, so when we were organizing team leagues, I would often rely on folks like Oz or Revival or JYP, right? These Koreans that I could just count to always be available. And I'll be absolutely candid. Korean players are always more accommodating with their schedule than foreign players. They always have less going on. So I could see when you lose like 3 workhorses like JYP and Oz and Revival.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. They did really well in the Shoutcraft tournament, so
Yeah.
I just don't know. It becomes like an issue. I have no idea who's responsible for scheduling these now. They went from when I was the manager, I managed all of the divisions, right? But I didn't have to schedule Dota 2 matches. They took care of that themselves, and then I managed all of the scheduling for the StarCraft matches, and even sometimes then I did a really shitty job.
Okay.
JYP is still on EG. He's my favorite player, so that makes sense. He's just very silent. So I have no idea. I know that Jeff is involved with the scheduling sometimes, but
Really? Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's like the team captain, and he was always really helpful when I managed the.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, because there's just absolutely no replacement for a person who plays the game professionally. Alive. I said Alive instead of JYP. So I have no idea. It's embarrassing. I know Jeff's commented on it publicly, and he's really apologetic. But I don't think it's Jeff's fault. I don't know who personally is responsible for managing it now. But it's
Right.
one of those things.
Well, hopefully some of that will get tightened up soon. Jang Bang asks to Destiny, StarCraft 2 ladder system. Recently there was a post on Reddit regarding suggestions to change how we ladder by reforming how best of X series are played out in the sense that players would face off in either a best of 3 or best of 5 format, such that one couldn't just cheese his way to the top. If you cannon rush the Zerg once, obviously you'll scout for the same strat in the next game. Do you see this suggestion as a fruitful change in the StarCraft's popularity, seeing how the ladder in Brood War was chat interface based? You basically announce your skill tier and search for other people of the same caliber to matchmake 1v1 through the embedded chat on either Fish Cup or IC Cup ladder. So what do you think? I mean, I guess what do you think of that? What do you think of a best of X series instead of just a single game on the ladder?
Some guy had actually posted a thread
Yeah.
about this. Actually, some guy posted a big consolidation thread. Oh, how can we get Blizzard to notice? And a guy posted the top response to that is something that I've been saying a long time, and that's why I try not to think about stuff like this. Let me just read the first sentence of this guy's things.
Okay.
The thing is, until they being Blizzard, the thing is, until Blizzard implements microtransactions, there will be no incentive for Blizzard to grow the multiplayer player base. In fact, less players means less turn on their servers, so they could care less. Honestly, the thing that I want to see right now from Blizzard for StarCraft 2 before they do anything else, they can stop balance, they can stop updating the map pool, they can do whatever the fuck. Just get like the one guy, the one poor fucking intern or whoever they have working on StarCraft 2 now, just get him to find a way to make more money out of the game so that they actually have like some incentive to do stuff with it. Until they do that, I mean, I don't know. They're not going to do like a best of ladder X, or that'll never happen. I mean, we don't even pay name change yet. Like I don't see them ever implementing that. Even though I do think it would be a really cool idea. I think it would be really interesting to be able to do that on ladder, but
Right.
they need the only thing I could possibly ask for Blizzard right now is to just implement some kind of way to collect revenue in the game from people that currently own the game, so that they have some kind of incentive to continue to produce services for it. I guess actually, if we push for the best of X feature, maybe it'll happen when they ship Legacy of the Void, since they try to add new features around expansion time, so they can ship as many copies of the game as possible. But I don't see it happening before then.
Okay. VIP Riley, from Richard's little NASL article, it seemed he was surprised by the numbers shown in the notice to creditors. Could he be more specific on why he was surprised? What type of numbers has he seen with similar sized esports companies claiming bankruptcy? And how much does he think that compares to other similar companies in other industries?
I mean, I guess most companies that declare themselves bankrupt have bigger amounts than 1.6 million as a deficit, but and definitely in esports as well. I would imagine there's been many bigger numbers than that. However, I think it's not so much that; it's the fact that they completely lacked any money in the bank at the time they went under, which I find incredible. They had some pretty lucrative contracts, which I think most people will be envious for, which also surprises me that they've finished at such a net loss. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough question to answer. I think why it surprises me is because that there probably wasn't quite as many reasons for NASL to fail as what people think there are.
Right.
And they easily could have done better, I think. I'm not quite sure, even now, having researched it as extensively as I have, why that has proven to be the case. But ultimately, there's just so much. There's so much there that could have gone very differently, and we're talking like there's a matter of degrees either way.
Yeah.
And NASL could probably still be with us, or like that little moment of foresight where you see the writing on the wall. NASL is still with us, so to end up for NASL to be in a $1.6 million dollar hole just seems like ridiculous. Sure, I've seen general companies that are bigger, and I imagine running a company of that stature with a production value that they put out was hugely expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think NASL could have been a successful, could have been one of the more successful business models. Like, it's not like there aren't studios out there that don't do well. You look at like what ESL have achieved, and in 2009, I think it was, everyone was sat around giggling like fucking schoolgirls because we all thought ESL was going to go under.
Yep.
And they've turned it around, paid all the outstanding prize money, and expanded. There's one of the things that people said to me at the time when they were like, "You really need to do more digging," was a business having no money is not a reason to close the business. And there's a lot of truth in that. There's always ways to get more.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yep.
Well, but I mean, you have to show that you're eventually going to be making money. Like, it's not just a matter of you're constantly losing money over.
Yeah, you
and
have
over
to
again.
convince
Still magically get more.
investors.
Like, you've got to convince somebody that it's going to turn around eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone in NASL, like, even at the point where they made the decision to do so, particularly wanted to pull the plug. Mm-hmm. I think they just ran out of ideas as to how to keep it afloat, and I think that shows, again, it ties in what we're talking about, business ineptitude. There probably were options available to them that maybe they weren't even aware of or didn't explore. Evidence points to that. So yeah, I guess 1.6 million. Like, if you're a real business head, that's probably not a shocking amount. I mean, we've had Azubu having 34.5 million dumped into it, and
I don't know if Azubu is comparable to NASL.
No, but that amount is probably going to go into development, and they're not going to see a 34.5 million return. We talked a little bit about ESGN last show.
Yeah.
Where ESGN are running at a loss. And people are telling me, sources are telling me, probably it's about 1.5 million, I think, euros annually. So it's not a huge, shocking number for anyone who understands what's going on in the esports business. But it's just, I think overall it's shocking because they had so many promising contract, so many ways in which they probably could have done a lot more.
I'm curious because I really how do you think NASL could have did anything to turn themselves around at the point where they were at? It seems like once World of Tanks fell, it seems like they're pretty much fucked.
Yeah, but the thing is, you could they had 3 opportunities to pitch for that business.
To pitch for World of Tanks?
Yeah, because they were the hosts, so they were already doing it. So what happened was at the end of I forget which season, you'll have to forgive me, but at the end of the last season they did, basically, Wargaming sent an email around, and apparently this is standard practice. I spoke to Wargaming about it, to other potential broadcasters and said, right, well, show us what you can do. We're up for considering other people to do it. They contacted DreamHack, they contacted ESL, everyone who could have broadcast, and they said, show us what you've got. And ESL put together a pitch that just blew them out the water. But other people that pitched for the business had the option to come back and do another pitch. It was like a 3-stage process.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy.
Like, literally, Wargaming couldn't have been more fair.
Yeah.
So, at that point, you've got to say, well, maybe you need to figure out how to do more for less. Maybe you need, there's got to be a way in which you can think, holy shit. Like, if at that instance, even if you hadn't foresaw it coming, if you knew at that instance that the contract was so vitally important to your business, at that point, your pitch should just be getting on your knees and sucking a dick. That's like literally what are we going to do?
I mean, obviously, I don't know the details of the negotiations, but I feel like NASL would have did anything they could. Like, it was within the realm of possibility for that contract, no? Like, I mean, obviously, once they lost it, the WCS wasn't lucrative enough. They had to drop that midseason and just fucking, obviously, dissolve.
The proof that they didn't do enough is in the pudding, that it went to ESL. I mean,
it might have been that whatever they were offering at that point, that it would have been the same result,
I can quote Wargaming. They really they really liked the product. And one of the things that was kind of spread around at the time was that Wargaming were dissatisfied with the product. I heard that when I was doing my research. Wargaming said that absolutely is not the case. What they do is standard practice, and as has been evidenced by what happened with GOM, is certainly part of the way they do things globally. And they said that they were absolutely delighted with what NASL had done. That they found NASL completely professional from start to finish. Even Russell, who they had frequent interactions with, and they said they found him to be a very passionate and intelligent and articulate individual when it came to vocalizing his vision for NASL and his vision for the World of Tanks League. Mm-hmm. So from there and further interviews, I can probably glean that they were provided an opportunity to do a secondary pitch, if you like, or to lower their price. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is, but whatever it wasn't good enough. That's why they went with ESL. Or it could be that ESL put together something that was just so mind-blowingly amazing. And certainly, if you looked at the World of Tanks finals in Poland, in Warsaw, I don't think anybody had as high expectations for that event as what they actually went out and produced. The season finals, world finals were incredible. Carmack took to Twitter like, World of Tanks are genuine esports. Everyone was blown away. Wargaming were blown away. Like, once again, ESL. And ESL have been in this situation before. For example, when they got the contract over DreamHack for WCS, and everyone was like, no, you know what? That's going to suck. And pretty much now everyone's like, we love ESL. ESL saved esports. ESL saved StarCraft, at least.
Right.
So, I guess to answer the question is that if you're fighting for something that's absolutely vital to your business, absolutely vital. Like, look at what they did with S2 Games. They did the HON to a broadcast free of charge, I believe. So,
yeah,
I'm not saying do it for free of charge, but I mean, halfway between free of charge and too much is probably a pretty good fucking compromise.
That's true.
So And especially when we're talking about wargaming here. So I don't know. I feel that maybe, you can draw your own conclusions. Either NASL felt that they could survive without the World of Tanks, like naively they could survive without that income, or they felt other partners would present themselves. And people probably remember at the time, NASL did go out there and they were publicly saying, "Oh, we're talking to a number of big clients, we're talking to a number of big sponsors. We're going to beat this. We're going to have this problem licked. We're really going to go from strength to strength." And then that wishy-washy announcement, like, we had some good times, didn't we, guys? Do you remember? Do you remember the good times? Do you remember the sound guy? Do you remember? Do you remember those? Do you remember the things that we did? And then they just kind of faded and hoped nobody had looked further into it. So I don't know, dude. I mean, to be honest with you, Stephen, I don't know how to answer the question. Like, I think there was probably an opportunity for them to do more than they did, though. So.
Okay, next question. That's apparently, I didn't know this. Village M4N. Why did Destiny launch into a bizarre verbal attack against Koss recently on NA Ladder?
You did what now?
Koss seemed generally shocked and hurt by some of the remarks made. What the fuck is this?
Really? Is that true? I don't think I said that much to him. I might have shit talked to him a little bit, but I mean, I hate Koss. I really don't like him. Fuck him.
What? What don't you like about Koss? He's a
He's
nice
like
guy.
He's like a Villo light. Like, the guy who cries about balance more than, like, fucking ask any other programmer. Come the fuck on. That's not even, like, controversial what I'm saying. Koss cries about balance more than, like, any other fucking person in the world. I mean, like, we'll be real. Like, Terran is the worst fucking race to play right now, so, like, I can understand that. But he's always complaining about balance. Even when Terran was on top, he is always fucking balance flying so fucking hard. And he's such a ladder champion. Like, he's played, like, more ladder. He's probably played, like, 3 times as many ladder games, like, MVP in his prime. Like, this guy played so many games, whines about balance so much, gets stuck so much in the game. Like, I just don't like him. And he's we've DM'd each other before, like, even in tournaments. So I mean, fuck it.
What StarCraft players do you like, man?
I like all the Zerg players.
All of them?
No,
he's
most
in
people,
he's in the NA clique,
honestly,
Cody.
there's like 2 or 3 players plus all the Protoss that I really hate. But I mean, like, most people I'm okay with, I think.
Oh man. All right, rustling Jimmy time. Criminal Cutie has a question. I have a question for Richard Lewis.
I know that name.
You banned him many times. I've had to unban him many times.
This fucking douchebag. Oh my god, why? Come on. Alright, Chaman, humor the douchebag.
Alright.
Let's humor the douchebag.
What makes you think you're a journalist?
There we go.
What is there to expound upon the esports scene? Print media is dying and articles are being reduced to clickbait titles. What makes you think that a bunch of teenagers who play video games want to read a 4-page interview with some socially inept pro gamer? The only reason you're relevant within the scene is because you're considered a contentious personality and get into arguments with EG, not because of your astounding articles.
So hang on. What he's tailed off already. Like, is he asking me why does he think I'm a journalist? I'm a journalist because I'm a fucking qualified journalist, you piece of shit. So that answers that one. Like, I did 5 years at university. I got an NCTG accreditation. I worked for fucking magazines.
Oh my gosh.
I edited a magazine for 2 years. I've worked in online media for fucking 8 years, 9 years, maybe 10. I mean, like, I've done 10 in esports, so probably is more. I get paid as a journalist. It's my sole source of income. I don't have to work in McDonald's like you fucking pleb.
Okay.
So
Right.
can I define myself as a fucking journalist now? Is that okay with you? Is that all right? Can I do that? Okay, cool. So what's the next part of his question? So I should lower my standards, which would give him more ammunition to say I'm not a journalist, because he says that the audience I'm writing for are so stupid that they don't really want to read anything that's got a little bit of substance to it. Well, I'll subscribe to the same philosophy I've subscribed to all this time in that long and considerable career that apparently doesn't define me as a journalist. And that is that, I'm not going to underestimate my audience. I will write what I deem to be relevant to the audience, and then they can choose whether to read it or not. It's, I'm not going to force it down people's throats. But if it trends well on social media and you notice it, maybe you deciding to obsess about it and try and stop other people reading it and try and stop me from writing it, maybe that makes you a fucking retard and you need to have a long look at yourself. So what does he go on?
It gets better. It gets
further?
better.
Okay,
It's
brilliant.
funny. Someone like Destiny has more journalist like agency than you. Because the closest thing you can get to
Course I
journalism
agree.
in esports is just being opinionated and loud. You really ought to have a sense of humility.
So I should have a sense of humility. What qualifies as that? Like what I should fucking debase myself and pretend that people like him are accurate and denigrating my life's work? No, I don't think so. I don't think humility really plays into that. Like I guess like maybe you know, yeah, I am. Maybe I shouldn't engage with people like him. But I never shy away from it. Like, I don't care if you're a fucking critic or somebody who's praising my work. I pretty much treat it all equally. You know, like if people tweet and say I really liked your article, I follow them back. You know, like because how can you
It's,
pick and choose their opinion? In the same way, I retweet the abuse. I very rarely block people. I had to block a bunch of people
have you,
tonight, but I'll follow people
have you guys
who
have you guys
routinely
not read
abuse me.
his recent TV article? That thing was full of humility, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Seriously,
again,
seriously.
like,
So
I mean,
it's,
yeah, like you're right. I mean, I hadn't even thought about citing specific examples, but the idea that I'm some sort of fucking egomaniac, like,
you should,
is just absurd. I'm just
Maybe we should do a call-in where CC confronts you with his charges.
Yeah, I'd be up for it.
All right, get
I
him
mean,
on.
let's not forget that. I am trying to be more professional these days, I guess. And the thing is, he's gonna sound like a squeaker. I guarantee it.
Squeaker.
You know what I mean by a squeaker? You know, where it's just like some 14-year-old kid.
Oh god, that'd be hilarious.
No, I
If he
guarantee it
was.
though. I guarantee it. You can always spot them on Reddit. They use
All right,
they use big words to try and assign intelligence when in actual fact they haven't actually completed anything worthwhile academically. It's just like, this is what I think my teacher wants to read, so this is how I talk all the time.
yeah.
It's like people who mistake pedantry for intelligence. Like, okay, you have listed several points, but there is one slight spelling error in one of those points, so I will hone in on that, and therefore everything else you say is wrong. You failed to use a semicolon here, therefore, your solution to world hunger cannot possibly be right. It's, these people don't have the intellectual capacity that they think they do. And, so yeah, but by all means, if you want to bring them on and add to the fucking circus, let's do it.
All right, I don't know if we're gonna do that, but continuing.
But yeah, so to answer his question, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, when you do something for a living, I guess it doesn't necessarily answer conclusively whether or not you are that thing, right? But certainly, I don't know, like, would you go up to a chef who's worked in a kitchen for 10 years and say, what makes you think you're a chef? Like, he's just putting the hat on? No, he that's what he does for a living. That's what I do for a living. You not liking the work or not understanding the work based on that sort of strange outburst doesn't make what I do change, and it doesn't make how I define myself change at all. Yeah, that whole rant speaks way more about you than it does about me. Sorry. Criminal cutie.
All right, next Jimmy Rustler. I vote kick. Has got a few questions.